Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tribe of Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Emmy Kirschner. Have you ever felt like you just couldn't get out of your own way? On today's show, my guest Tyson Sharpe talks about how he helps his clients move through unconscious patterns that have kept them stuck and truly growing their business the way they wanted. We had an incredible conversation about leadership and how allowing instead of constantly pushing can lead to greater success.
My name is Emmy Kirschner. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. The one thing that I get asked all the time is, how do you achieve success in business and make an impact? In each episode of the Tribe of Leaders podcast, you'll hear from entrepreneurs and visionaries who share how their leadership has changed not only their lives, but the lives of everybody around them.
Hey, could you do me a quick favor? Take a screenshot of this podcast episode right now and post it on your Instagram and tag me and anybody else who you think could benefit from it, especially if you've been finding value. I'm so grateful for you listening. Welcome to the Tribe of Leaders podcast, and I am Emmy Kirschner. I am super excited to have Tyson Sharpe with me. Tyson has been coaching hundreds of online business owners and helps them with the internal need to feel enough or worthy. And before I fully introduce Tyson, I want to read something that he wrote in the questions that I send to all my podcast guests, because I think that this is just the most amazing quote, and I want to have it sit with you while you're listening to the rest of the podcast. Tyson wrote, "My experiences have shown me that leadership is about allowing more than anything else. When you allow people and events to unfold the way they do, you demonstrate a quality that goes beyond the traditional way a leader would guide a tribe." Tyson, welcome to the show. And I can't even express how much that just totally aligns with me.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. And I'm glad it resonates. This has been a recent shift of mine from learning many ancient texts and a lot of ancient wisdom is to allow things to unfold the way they're meant to. And like I said, I think that demonstrates a deeper quality that resonates with people and who they are, more than what they think they should do. And so that's where leadership for me really comes into it, and it's a different philosophy, but I'm glad it resonates.
Well, I am too, and I totally agree, because in my experience, what I see with my clients, and I think we're starting to see a shift in the world too, is when you start to allow instead of push and try to make things happen, the end result is always so much better.
Totally. Yeah. And I find, like you said, I think the consciousness of the planet's increasing, right? And so we're really starting to see a shift in the level of awareness in which we view our ego, in which we view our hustle and hard work. And, you know, it's I find with so many people in my community or my clients, they start getting those next level results when they move from like more of an achiever type of mentality or an achiever type of consciousness into more of the receiver. So that's what I call it, moving from the achiever to the receiver. And instead of the hard work and hustle that's unconsciously coming from a place of fear or lack or scarcity, is to actually move into a place, into a consciousness where you actually start allowing everything. And when you allow, when you live in a place of non-resistance and you live in a place of surrender, you actually have higher level ideas and answers flow through you rather than you trying to find the answers externally. And so that's what I find, placing that as a characteristic or quality that you're demonstrating in terms of allowing people to unfold the way they're meant to unfold is a really, really cool way to show that there's a deeper level of trust, a deeper level of guidance there.
Yeah, I think you have the opportunity to help people up level too when you're in that allowing space, because you are trusting.
Yeah. And it's also it's a trust that says, you know, who am I to know what's best for you, right? Who am I to know what's best for the world and what's unfolding, right? If you live in a place of allowing, you live in a place of surrender, you know that there's a deeper meaning to everything. There's a deeper meaning to, why the world's chaotic right now. And I find this is what's needed for us to find out what's true about ourselves. Sometimes we need some chaos for us to break our patterns and for us to, shift our level of consciousness. And that's what I help entrepreneurs do is build their business from a place of consciousness. And that's where it starts resonating with their clients at a different level. And you start building from a place of love, a place of allowance, a place of trust, a place of joy and freedom, rather than a place of, I need to make this happen in order for me to feel enough, or I need more success in order to feel happy or joy or whatever it may be. It's a real big paradigm shift.
Yeah. And you and I had talked before, when we were scheduling this podcast recording, and you said you weren't always in the space of allowing. So can you share with our listeners like what your transition and your transformation has been like?
Oh, sure. So I when I was, I left university studying 6 years of psychology and had no clue what I wanted to do. And so a real big shift for me was when I traveled to Canada for 2 years, and I learned the clear difference between happiness and fulfillment. It was like I was happy day in, day out, but I was lacking this purpose and meaning, fulfillment, and, this direction of what I wanted to contribute to the world. And so I jumped into personal development. I actually invested half of everything I had in the bank while I was a poor traveling Australian, and jumped into my first online coaching program. And that was with Tony Robbins, and learning how to create these huge shifts and transformations. And I loved it so much, I moved back to Melbourne, where I'm from, and started building my own online business. That was about 4.5 years ago. And yeah, for me, it was in my expansion back then to be in a space of hustle, hard work, make it happen. Because I was moving from a level of consciousness of what we call, a victim, life's happening to me, to the achiever, where life is now happening from me. I'm now in control of my life. I'm in control of this thing that I can, this direction that I want to go in. And so that's what was my expansion at that time. That's the expansion for many people, is moving from that victim mentality or victim level of consciousness into more of the achiever, right? And having life happen from you. And I'm finding that's where a lot of people are now stuck. That's where a lot of people are now starting to realize, no matter how hard they work, no matter how much they hustle, no matter how many tactics, tools, and strategies, for some reason, they're not getting the results they want. And for some reason, they're not living the internal quality of life they want, in terms of the emotions they want to feel more often. And so that's where I find most people are stuck. And it's a huge transition in terms of the results once they become more from the achiever to the receiver. And that's what I've been doing the last 6 months. The majority of the time is, sitting in a place of being the receiver. I've been meditating 2 hours a day for the last 6 months and just sitting in silence. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do that. I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just saying this is my experiment in terms of becoming more of the space that allows this world to unfold the way it's meant to. And I'm actually finding that a lot of my patterns in terms of my emotions of fears, doubts, and frustrations are coming up and being released, which leaves a space for higher level guidance, higher level creative ideas and inspirations and all these different things that I can now build my business from.
Which is incredible. I'm curious, when you started meditating, did you just start out with meditating for 2 hours or long periods of time, or is it something that you had to build into or build up to?
I've done many guided meditations throughout the years, and so visualizations and that sort of practice has always been a particular habit of mine. But I really started doing longer forms of meditation when I started realizing that there was a lot of fears, doubts, and frustrations that I was resisting or that I was avoiding. And many people listening, if they're into personal development or if they're into business and all these different things, you can start to realize where you're in resistance, where you have an emotion that you either want to avoid and not feel, or you resist and you think it's wrong, it should be fixed, you think you'd rather feel something else. So resisting that or avoiding that is typically what allows you to push that emotion back down for it to grow unconsciously. But what I realized is when I started recognizing where I was avoiding or resisting all of these emotions. So I decided to take up a meditation practice where I would just simply sit in silence. And the first day I did it, roughly 6 months ago, I sat in meditation for 6 hours in one day, and just allowed all of the fears to come up, all of the frustrations, all of the doubts, all of the guilt of sitting there and not doing much, and all of the stories and the patterns of I should be doing something else, I should be doing something more productive or more income generating, whatever it may be. And I just allowed all of that to come up and just held the space for it and just allowed it. And as they came up, those emotions came out. As they came up, they transcended. And I just started finding so much creativity, so much flow, so much connection with myself and with other people. And I just started building my business and my communities and all those different things from that space of creativity, from that space of flow and alignment, because I had allowed all of those patterns to transcend and to move on.
That's incredible. Did you, and this is the planner part coming out of me, did you plan for the 6 hours, or was that just what it took for you to move through all of those and you were committed to sitting through it? And when you were done, you were kind of done.
Yeah, I did plan for 6 hours. I told myself, I'm just going to, I think I'll do it for 6 hours. So I did 3 sets of 2-hour blocks. Just to see what would happen, really just to see what would happen. And since I started doing the longer forms of meditation, I just had so much sadness come up around past relationships, or so much worry about money, or fear about and uncertainty about where my business is going, and all these different things that I had no clue were even in me. Right. And that's what's really important, is when you start to become aware of your emotions and you start to transcend those patterns, more starts to come up. But it's important to realize that those patterns were in you anyway. The things that are coming up are trying to come out. And the more you resist or avoid those patterns, the more they just stay in you, and they run your decisions, your actions, your moods, your relationships, your results. They're running the show because they're already inside you. And so just placing this level of awareness, increasing your level of consciousness, is just a way for you to deepen that relationship with yourself, and also deepen a relationship with your connection to source, or your connection to allowing the universe to unfold the way it's meant to.
Right. How has all of that experience helped you work with your clients and help them succeed more?
Oh, wow. It's a game changer, absolute game changer. My clients and the people in my online community, they tell me time and time again, they're like, man, you just have a gift. You have an absolute gift. And what I explain to them is I can help identify the patterns they can't identify in themselves, and help create that shift, because I do it so much within myself. Right. I also get coached because I recognize that there's unconscious patterns that I can't see myself. But because I hold this space so often for myself, I can very, very quickly highlight what they can't see themselves, and so they can have the space to hold that, hold the safe loving space for those emotions to emerge and those emotions to transcend. And so being able to do that for myself helps me identify that for other people as well.
Okay, incredible. What do you think the biggest pattern is that is holding most business owners back?
Definitely, in terms of, we're all in the world of achievement. We're all in the world of creating businesses and leading different initiatives. And what I find is that the vast majority of people are trying to achieve that next level of success because they're trying to fill a void within themselves, right? Okay. We've learned when we're children consciously or unconsciously, that in order to feel loved, we need to succeed. We need to achieve. Right? This is just one pattern, but it's a primary pattern for people in the Western world. And so that is unconsciously linked to survival, right? If we're not loved as a child, unconsciously we feel like we may die, right? So we actually link that to death. And we link, if I'm loved, if I feel enough, if I feel worthy, then I'm worthy of that love that means my very survival. And so we found a way when we were children to achieve. And when we achieved or succeeded or did something the right way or whatever it may be, we got that love that meant our very survival. And that's why now when we're trying to grow our business or trying to succeed at a different level, and then we have an obstacle, it actually kicks in our fight-flight response, right? Kicks in that part of our brain that says, this is our survival. And so I find many people are trying to succeed at that next level from a place of fear, a place of scarcity, a place of lack, because they're trying to fill that void within themselves that says, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, right? I need to achieve this in order to feel happy, in order to feel joy, in order to feel freedom. And it creates this scarcity mentality and this lack. And many people can feel that they're coming from a place of fear when I ask them the question, what would happen if you never achieved those results? If you never achieved the goals that you have set? Many people feel fear, they feel doubt, they feel uncertainty, they feel guilt, they feel disappointment. And that shows you that there's some triggers in you and there's some patterns that are holding back your creativity, your source, your resourcefulness, your level to feel freely, that alignment, that flow. And so that's really what I think is the biggest pattern that holds most business owners back.
Do you feel, or do you see it show up, for instance, if somebody's feeling like they're not enough, or they're not worthy, that it shows up in their sales conversations, whether it's an actual conversation or copy on their website, etc., where they're almost sabotaging themselves?
Oh, totally. I mean, consciously or unconsciously, a lot of people are trying to get more money and make sales, in order to feel enough or safe. I did this when I left my job to coach full time online. I had so much fear and uncertainty around money, but I knew I had to take that leap because I knew it was just an illusion, and I was able to take that leap, knowing that what was going to arise and the uncertainty that was going to arise around money and sales and all those different things is just a side of me I need to look at. So I had a client yesterday, and I was coaching him because he's in sales, and he generally had fear and uncertainty when he wasn't selling the way he wanted to and wasn't getting the results the way his ego thinks he should. And so I helped him realize that what's coming up right now in the form of fear and frustration and uncertainty is like your inner child. It's an inner 5-year-old that has a particular belief that says, I need to make money in order to feel enough. I need to make money in order to feel safe, in order to feel secure, right? So when that fear and uncertainty comes up, one of the worst things you can do for your spirit is to actually go out and try to make more money. Because what you're doing is you're avoiding the very internal child, the internal pattern that needs to be seen, that needs to be loved. And so what people may find is that if you take action from that place, even if you are to get the money, you're going to still live in fear that you're going to lose it. You're still going to live in fear that won't be there, because that external circumstance, that external result is your survival. It's your worthiness. It's your security. So you'll never feel internally secure if you don't actually look at this 5-year-old that's emerging in the form of fear or worry or frustration.
Right. And then you compound that, I think, with the society that still very much believes in the hustle and the grind, and you've got to make more and have more and buy more and be more. Yes. So it just continues to kind of grow out of proportion, right?
Yes. Yeah, totally. We're in a world right now that's why I find the more I study this sort of stuff, the more I'm starting to realize that we're building businesses based on ego, and all the marketing tools and tactics and business strategies are basically fed by our ego. right? By more, by status, by importance, by, you know, getting more and hoarding more and manipulating and all those different things, which, to be honest, is beautiful. It's all in beautiful harmony with where we're moving to and where we're going. Because there's, you know, our ego is just as beautiful as our spirit. It's just that it's unconscious, right? Our ego is just unconscious. So it's still a beautiful part of us that needs to be honored and seen and loved. You just are now more conscious that you don't have to let that run the show, right?
Right. And for me, and I'm curious if you agree or disagree, there's nothing wrong with having amazing abundance and having all of the things that you want. The difference is when you're just trying to fill the void as opposed to choosing intentionally.
Yeah, totally. You'll feel in flow and feel aligned, which will lead to abundance just as a byproduct, right, of who you're being.
Right.
So that's really where I find the difference is. We are all, I feel like we all have an inner calling, right? We all have an inner, you know, this pull within us of what we think, what we feel like we're meant to be doing. Like this is your heart's calling.
Right.
And when you follow that, when you break away from these stories and these beliefs around what you think you should be doing or what society tells you should be doing, you'll find that so much more abundance will flow to you, right? With very little effort. You'll just be in flow. You'll just be doing what you love, and you'll just be at one with everything. And therefore you'll increase your level of consciousness. And because of that, abundance will flow to you because you're in alignment, not because you're trying to get external things in order to feel a certain way, right? In order to fill that void. So it's very, very different energy. But what I'm finding is when you build a business based on that flow and that alignment, then your success will come just as a byproduct of that. So that's really where the difference lies.
Awesome. So for somebody who's starting to recognize that they're not in flow and experiencing abundance, and they recognize this pattern, how can they start to overcome that?
Yeah, sure. So when you're feeling a pattern, when you're feeling, so many people are conscious of when they feel fear, uncertainty, or doubt, right? Most people avoid that or resist it, like I said before. And the way I describe this is that's like if you were to go to a park, if you were in a park and someone else's 5-year-old comes up to you and you can see there's love in their eyes, but they're also very scared. Let's say they've lost their parents and they come up to you and they're feeling this uncertainty or fear. They feel sad. You know, would you say to that child, go away until you feel better? Or would you say to that child, it's wrong you're feeling this way? Or it's, you know, you should be feeling something different. You need to be fixed. Right? Of course we wouldn't, right? But that's what we do to our internal 5-year-olds. When our internal 5-year-olds come up in the form of fear, doubt, and frustration, or whatever it may be, we avoid them or resist them. And that allows us to push down that emotion and that pattern to grow unconsciously, right? But many people in that park, no doubt you would feel called to be that loving, safe space for that 5-year-old. You would just be the loving, safe space to allow them to feel however they want to feel and to be there for them. And that's what we have the opportunity to do when our internal fear comes up, right? Or uncertainty, is we actually can hold the space for that emotion to be there and finally allow ourselves to feel it fully. Because no fear can continue to exist in a space where it's actually seen and it's actually loved and actually understood. But all fear will continue in moments when you don't want it to be there, right? Consciously or unconsciously, it'll continue to grow. And so what most people don't realize is that an emotion's coming up so that it can come out. It's coming up because it's actually ready to transcend. And so what you can do is actually feel the fear or the uncertainty, whatever it may be, in your body, pay very, very close attention to what it feels like, and just breathe with it, right? Breathe with it, describe it in detail, what it feels like, whether it's an emptiness, a heaviness, whether it feels jagged or hot or it's pulsating, whatever it may be, and just notice it and just hold the space for it to be there. Hold the space for it and allow it to be there. Actually welcome it. Because what you'll be doing is you'll be holding the safe space for that emotion to be there. And when you do that, you actually unconsciously become the parent that 5-year-old wished they had. And
Okay.
that's the interesting piece, which allows that pattern to then transcend. It allows that pattern to move on, because you're actually seeing that emotion. You're actually holding the space for that 5-year-old to feel however they want to feel, and you're being the parent from unconditional love that 5-year-old wished they had. And that's what allows the pattern to move on, and that's what allows the pattern to transcend.
Incredible. So it's almost bringing like two sides of yourself into one, from a place of love.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that it's coming up, it's ready to come out, and the fact that you can feel it and describe it, it's a reminder that you're not that emotion, right? You're not the patterns, you're not the thoughts, you're not the 5-year-old. You're just the one you're the consciousness and the space that's observing those things, right? So you can feel it fully, and there's a couple sides of you that show up. One is the fear. One might be a judgment about the fear. So then there's another side of you that says, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should, or I should be feeling this way, or what does this mean, or whatever. But then there's a third you that's holding space for both of those, right? And that's really the space where where you can be in, where you're just the observer. You're the space where you're just the consciousness that's holding both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's also important to realize is that this emotion's coming up because at some level you've opened up a safe enough space for it to do so. So there'll also be an aspect of safety and love there as well. So if you imagine the love or the safety that's sort of operating around this fear, it's operating around this 5-year-old, that's allowing the 5-year-old to come to your conscious awareness, that's also an important element as well. So you can observe the fear. You can observe the judgment about the fear. You can actually observe the love as well that has allowed this pattern to come to your conscious awareness. And so you can just notice all of that while you feel it fully, and you'll notice that you've just dropped all the resistance to that emotion, and you'll have a very different relationship with it.
Do you feel like there are different levels of the same fear? Like maybe you have a fear of, I don't know, not making enough money, I think is one that a lot of people feel, fear around. And let's say you go through this process, you're aware of the fear and everything, and you can feel everything coming together. Once you do that, is it completely gone, or can there be another level that maybe you need to heal with or heal within still at another time?
Yeah, there's definitely different layers, because there's many 5-year-olds within you that have different beliefs, right? Different beliefs about what needs to happen in order for you to feel enough, what needs to happen in order for you to feel safe, right? Who you need to be in order to be enough. And so what will happen is you have many 5-year-olds that aren't coming to your conscious awareness right now. But once you start transcending those patterns, you'll open a big enough loving space for more to emerge, right?
Okay.
And so this type of work comes with a word of warning, but it's also a really beautiful transition where you can just be the safe space for all these patterns to emerge and come up and be released. Because what you'll find is when you fully feel the fear and you allow it to be there, that will start diminishing, and that will actually be let go. But then, a deeper level of uncertainty will arise. So many people have an uncertainty of, I don't know what to do next. And so when you feel that fully, and you have a look at the side of you that feels like, I need to know what to do next, then once that transcends and you're like, okay, cool, I'm okay with that now. Another side of you that says, oh my God, but what if it doesn't work?
Right.
And then you hold space for that. And then there might be a side of you that comes up that says, oh my God, but what if I start doing this and I don't make money? Right. And then you transcend that, you hold space for that. And then there might be a side that comes up that says, oh my God, what if you make money, but then you lose it? whatever it
Right.
may be. Like there'll be so many different things coming up,
Yeah.
but it's important to realize that all of those were in you anyway, right? All of those
Right.
were in you. And so it's really, it's such a, I've seen so many transformations within my own body, my own soul, my own business, along with my clients. When they start doing this, they start recognizing what's within them. They start actually holding the space for these patterns and allowing them to transcend.
Incredible. Incredible. What do you see happen with your clients first? And from the context of like they've started the transcendence, what happens in their business?
Yeah, so it differs from many people. It depends where they're at in their consciousness,
Right.
because what level of consciousness you're at determines what tools and strategies work best for you, right? So,
Right.
but many people will start to feel, for example, if, like you said, they have fear around money, not making enough money. Once they actually start transcending the pattern that says, I need to make money in order to feel safe, I need to make money in order to feel enough, you basically allow, it's almost like the way my coach describes it to me, it's almost like you're digging deeper in yourself. So within yourself, you're digging like this gap or this void as you feel this. And within that, you allow this deepening within yourself, and you can actually start filling that with more love. More love within yourself, more love that allows you to be completely fulfilled and completely at peace, no matter what you're feeling and no matter what's happening externally.
Okay. That's incredible. And love being the highest like vibration level that you can reach.
Yeah,
The more
totally.
that you're feeling that regardless of what's going on is pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it's not a love as in I love myself because I've achieved all of this stuff, right?
Right.
It's a love that says I'm at peace, a deep inner peace with everything that I'm feeling and with everything that's happening externally. And if you can live in that place, you'll be very surprised at how much creativity and how much flow, how much alignment flows through you. And that's when you start to move from the achiever into the receiver. It's when you start to feel you start to feel the higher level energy flow through you. And that's when you can just be the space and just be the channel for all of that to flow through. So my clients just find so much guidance from their heart that tells them this is where you need to move next. This is the next step. This is what you need to do. And the more you follow those leaps, the more you follow your heart, the more you follow that calling, the more 5-year-olds will emerge. But the more flow you'll feel, the more aligned you'll feel, and that's where the universe or whatever you want to call it starts providing these synchronicities and starts providing with opportunities that is aligned with what you want to do. And that's where, like you're talking about before, that's where abundance starts flowing to you with so much ease. It's because you're now on the path that you're meant to be on.
Incredible. I love it. This has been such a cool conversation, and I'm so aligned with everything that you're saying because I've seen it with my business, both when I'm not in alignment and when I am in alignment. Things just show up out of nowhere, and it takes no effort. And
it takes less effort, right? It's less effort. It's stepping back. And what I'm learning for all Buddhism and Taoism, all these ancient texts is definitely that less is more. You can definitely do less and more will flow through you. And it is more from a space of effortless.
Okay, cool. For people who want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
There's a couple of ways, depends on what they prefer. So I have a podcast that goes into these sort of exercises and deeper levels of awareness. So that's the Awaken Your Business podcast. But for those who have, more joy in online communities like Facebook groups, I have my Facebook group, which is called Connect, Contribute, Collaborate. And that's full of heart-centered business owners who are all collaborating, who are connecting with one another and who are doing this deep inner work so that they can start to, transcend their patterns and do it collectively with some support.
Okay, awesome. And we'll get all those links hooked up in the show notes too, so people can just click through easily.
Okay,
So
amazing.
awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for being on today, because this is so helpful, and particularly in the times that we're experiencing right now, I think it's easy to get into a place of, oh my God, I've got to do more to stay just, above water, and really being able to shift, to allowing is going to be powerful for so many people.
Totally. Yeah, this is the opportunity that people have with so much chaos in the world externally. It actually provides the best opportunity for you not only to notice and break your patterns, but to really start meeting yourself. I think we've had it very comfortable for a long time. It's allowed us to avoid ourselves for a long time. This is actually the best opportunity. I think this is what the world needs to increase our level of consciousness and start to actually meet ourselves and stop avoiding the patterns that we've been avoiding, so that we can start meeting more of our soul and start following more of our heart and finding that level of abundance we know we're capable of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Emmy. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And to everybody listening, thank you for being here. I am so grateful that you're listening, and we will see you next week.
As an entrepreneur, do you ever feel isolated, like you're just grinding away and not getting to the place or reaching the goals that you want? Maybe you've realized that you just spent days, weeks, or even months trying to accomplish something, only to figure out that the answer that you have would have saved you all of that time. I know I've had that experience, and my clients have as well. And that's why I created the Tribe of Leaders Biz School. Get the accountability, the training, and the knowledge base in a community of like-minded people who are there to support you. Go ahead and check it out. It's thetribeofleaders.com.